Going to go ahead and get started with the special commission meeting for Monday, April 29th. If I can please have the city clerk call the roll.
Commissioner Billy Vasquez.
Present.
Commissioner Caldwell.
Here.
Commissioner Harriet.
He's here for the record. He's
Okay.
probably in the back.
Commissioner McCool.
Here.
Commissioner Shimkus.
Here.
Vice Mayor Jody Lee.
Here.
Mayor Vila.
Here.
Thank you.
If I can please have Commissioner Shimkus lead us in the pledge.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Perfect. All right, at this time, we're going to Joyce, we're going to make sure we do public forum after each item. So we're going to go ahead and do Section A of business, which is request approval to sunset the city manager selection committee. Ms. Rafferty.
This is just to sunset the committee. They've pretty much done their duties. Keep in mind, if we sunset them now and something does happen and you decide to go back out, then we can either reappoint the same people, we can have a new committee. That would be the only hang-up of doing it right now, but this allows them to at least speak on the contract.
Okay, so they'll be able to speak tonight. For clarification, they'll be able to speak tonight. Yeah. Okay. Commissioner Vila Vasquez and then Vice Mayor Jody Lee.
Thank you, Mayor. I move to approve the sunsetting the city manager selection committee effective immediately.
Second.
So motion by Commissioner Vila Vasquez, second by Vice Mayor Jody Lee. Is there any public comment on this specific topic?
Kathy Bryan, please. No? Contract, okay.
Okay, can we please vote? The motion passes 6-0, and just for point of clarification, when Commissioner, yes, we will ask for his vote on that. All right, we're going to go ahead and move to Section B, request for approval of Mr. Dale Doc, I'm going to say his name wrong, Daughtery, proposed city manager employment agreement. Ms. Siegel George.
No?
I don't care. Mr. Mayor, I don't know what kind of format you want to do. I mean, Flores and I were going to give a little introduction. We were tasked with working on this contract by the commission, and we received a week ago, Saturday, over the weekend, we received a copy of a contract from Mr. Daugherty that he had prepared with his lawyer. And then last Monday, Flores and I started working on it provision by provision with the contract that they sent us. So did you want, okay.
Yes. As a result of receiving the contract, we had several calls with Mr. Daugherty, and we had some changes. Some were small, some were major, and we started to, from there, look at comparisons with other city managers. Those city managers were looked at by the headhunter organization, Colin Behringer, I believe, Benzinger, excuse me, and he put a comparison together with the salaries that included the populations for each of those cities, somewhere around 13 cities. And in human resources, we did yet another cut to show the number of employees for each of those cities in looking at the comparisons. He used the Florida State City Manager Salary Survey, and in human resources, we used govsalary.com. So the average salaries that we came up with at that point in time was $230,000. So that kind of sets the stage for what we were looking for in terms of a salary. and there were additional benefits there that we're prepared to answer questions from each of you.
Before we start, I just want to get a point of clarification for Commissioner Harriet. On the previous motion that we all voted, we need to get your vote for the record. If you would have voted to pass to sunset the...
Yes.
Okay. All right. Does anybody on the dais have any questions for Flores and Marcia? All right, well, everyone decides where they're going to go. I do have a couple of concerns, we'll tell you. So I'll start with,
If you could cite, when you cite your
Yes.
concerns, page and paragraph.
yes. So I have some concerns with section 11, which is insurance on page 4. We are paying for 100% of his premium and his deductibles. Is that what this says, correct?
Health insurance is paid 100% for all employees. We have a spreadsheet here that shows that for Mr. Daugherty, the insurance that would be paid for him will be in the area, the ballpark of $23,000. That's paid for his coverage, just as we would other employees. Now, he
So-
was, oh, I'm sorry.
His deductibles as well? Do we pay other city employees his deductibles?
No, we do not.
But
And
we're
I know
paying
that
his.
that was a point of, that was a question that we got from several of you.
Okay, so are we paying his deductibles?
The deductible is included in here.
Okay, so I do have an issue, personally, I have an issue with that.
Okay.
I also have an issue that we're not putting any caps or limits. God forbid that there's some type of, somebody there has, let's just say cancer, right, knock on wood. But we're not capping anything, so, I mean, we're just giving pretty much an open blanket of making sure that, and we want them to stay healthy, don't get me wrong, but I mean, can we subsidize that with something else? I know the city participates with AFLAC. Wouldn't that be a cheaper route to go to probably supplement it through the AFLAC cancer program? Or something of that
Which benefit
nature?
are you referring to, Mr.
sorry?
Mayor? I'm sorry. Which benefit are you referring to?
To his health insurance benefits. We're not capping any of his coverages.
Cap or limit? What is in that section 11 there? I'm sorry, I don't have that.
We just are paying healthcare,
Right.
dental care,
Right.
and prescription coverage.
Yes, we're paying that just as we would any other employee because that's paid at 100%.
After his first year, Section 9, Automobile and Technology, Part 2, after his first year's anniversary, we're going to pay $650 per vehicle allowance for the city's manager's exclusive use. Is he not going to have a city car anymore after the first year?
Can I?
That was a mistake that we picked up this morning in going through it. In the second year, when he would get the automobile, what is it called?
The allowance.
The allowance, he then would give up the city car that he has in the first year, and we'll put that back in.
So what type of car is he getting? I'm just trying to understand, why are we giving him an allowance if he's still going to have a city vehicle?
He's not, I said he won't have.
Okay, so this was a mistake.
That was a mistake, yes. It was supposed to be in lieu of.
Okay, we need to start correcting these before we get them. That way we're not, going crazy. I'll hold the rest of my comments. I have Commissioner Colwell, then Commissioner McCool, then Vice Mayor Jody Lee. I still have a couple, but I want them to go. Commissioner Colwell.
Yeah, I have some concerns in section 4 in regards to the 90-day period following and preceding an election. The phrase after it says, "or any new appointment to the city commission," I'm concerned about that because, God forbid, we have another appointment next year. We could go a year without being able to remove them.
Do you want to?
Under section 4.
That was, Doc proposed that provision. It came from him. I thought there were pluses and minuses. It does create a certain amount of stability. In the past, our past history, the board's been particularly volatile during election cycles and those kinds of things. So it was an attempt to try and create like give everybody breathe and see if y'all can get along kind of
I
thing.
agree with the 90 days prior and preceding the election cycle, but to have for a new appointment, if we have change throughout the year, he could be afforded a whole year without any repercussions.
That one. Did you want to say anything on it?
No, I didn't have that.
That's it.
Can I interrupt on that, just that point, sorry. I wanted to clarify that same point, but with the respect of, that would seem to me to violate our own charter, and I'm curious whether or not this contract would supersede our charter, or the fact that our charter gives us the ability to fire with 5 votes at any time, if that would still be the overriding document. This is a great guideline. I love the stability idea, but I just want to verify whether or not our charter would be usurped, if you will, by that provision.
You cannot usurp the charter with this contract.
So just for a point of clarification to Commissioner Shimkus' point, why have that provision in here then if it's a moot point?
He asked for it. We discussed it. And, our job was not to just take things out. Our job was to try and, negotiate an agreement that was acceptable to us and him. There's no way we could negotiate an agreement based on 7 different ideas up there. We had to try and come down to trying to find commonalities and find a way to get terms that we could all live with and the best ones we could find. So that's the process. I know, supposedly I wrote the contract, I did not. So, you get back to the accusations of who did what to who. The bottom line is we tried to have a cordial negotiation of going back and forth. As we got information, he gave us his information, and we went back and forth over 4 days, talking 2 and 3 times a day to try and come up with what he was looking for and what we felt was acceptable. And I know some will think, well, we just gave him whatever he wanted. We had significant negotiations on the salary issue. We were not even close to what he originally asked for. So we negotiated that, and we broke it up into 2 years in an attempt to try, because, from Flores and my perspective, we were trying to get a contract that you all would want, because you seem to all unanimously want him to come here. So that's what we were proceeding on.
And I get that, Ms. Siegel-George. I don't think any of us here are asking in a nefarious way, right? And nobody, at least not to my knowledge, nobody up here accused you of writing the contract, right? I think to Commissioner Shimkus' point, as a legal attorney, if something is superseding the charter, then why put it in there? If it's a moot point, that's all he was trying to get to. So, Commissioner McCool.
Thank you. And I went over some of my concerns with the city attorney and Ms. Flores also, being the holidays and executive leave. The point, I wanted 30 days instead of 45 days. I went over the vehicle allowance, understanding what that was. And there was submitted at some juncture a car payment, and I understood that to be that he would not be receiving the compensation of the car allowance along with the city vehicle. So there's that. What I wanted also clarified is the $125 a month for the cell phone, because we all as commissioners have city cell phones, so that was that was not on my radar there. We all are issued city phones, and the rest. I want to address the insurance information here. I don't have a problem with us covering the city manager's insurance, deductibles, premiums. I don't have a problem with that. And when we talk about caps, I pay for city insurance also. I'm a cancer patient. And had you put caps on me, you would have robbed me of the care that I was due, according to what insurance is supposed to do. So to try to place a cap on that, to me it is you're asking somebody to negotiate their health care, their personal health care. And if we would have listened to that regarding my health care, I would be dead by now. So I just really want us to think about that. Other city employees get that, you know what I mean, the health care, and that is a benefit of being in the roles that we are in. And I understand the concerns here, but we don't ask to place a cap on anybody else's insurance benefits either.
Just for clarification, and I'm not going to steal from your time.
I can't hear, I'm sorry. Excuse me.
I just want to make sure that you understand. I'm not saying we're paying for his insurance and it's deductible. And my employee, where I work, I pay for insurance, but I pay my own deductibles. And as a matter of fact, I pay part of my insurance. But here, I don't. From what I understood from Flores, no other city employee gets their deductibles paid as well.
And I understand that.
So that's all I'm trying to say is, I lost 2 of my grandparents to cancer. My cousin had cancer. My mom did. You know, I have a history, and I'm very sensitive to that topic. But they didn't elect me to be emotional about it. They elected me to have a business mind and make a business decision. And I can't just, I want Doc to come here. I voted for him to come here. I just can't give him everything when he hasn't proven himself. I want to give him the opportunity to prove himself, but we have to do what's right for both the city and for Doc.
I absolutely get that, Mr. Mayor, and I also understand that we have evaluation policy in here as well, and we are directly responsible for implementing and following through that evaluation process. If we don't, then we're directly responsible for the demise of this here if we do not. We've talked about this for a long, long time, and I think that that's one of the caveats with the residents is that we bang on this performance all the time, you know. And as we've moved through this, we have to be thinking now regarding what are these benchmarks here, that, you know what I mean, as we move forward, because we not even discussed that. I mean, that's for afterwards, I understand that, but those are what my issues were. And, you know, I just want him to enjoy the benefits, the same ones offered to the rest of our city employees, and I think that he should have a measure more based on the position, but not to the effect that some past city managers. And as you know, the last contract that was negotiated wasn't really negotiated. It was shoved down our throats, and I was told sitting there, because I was one of the only ones that voted not to hire the last city manager, that this is the way that it was going to be or else. And I think that we're burned from that. So I'm just trying to bring that to the forefront of our mind also. You know, and other than the things that we've discussed, I think that this, you know, covers and we're addressing what the concerns are. So those are my concerns. Thank you.
Vice Mayor Jody Lee.
Thank you, Mayor. Well, I agree with everything, pretty much everything everybody here said. But there's also my points on different things like the insurance. I'll start with the evaluations. There's supposed to be evaluations for everybody that works for the city. They ain't been done in years. Nobody does them. We've asked for them, and we get ignored. We've been hearing this. We've had residents come here and complain about evaluations. We've had people sitting here. Everybody here in management position is supposed to be doing evaluations. Show me somebody that does them. So we're going to be held accountable to do evaluations for a new person coming in when we don't do evaluations for people that have been here for 20 years. So guess what? You know why we're not trusted? Because we don't even stick to what we're supposed to do. This whole insurance thing. I get paying his deductible, the copay, and everything else. There's people that work for this building that have been here for 15 years. We don't pay theirs. They're making $40,000 a year. This guy's going to make over $200,000 a year, and we're going to pay everything for him. You ain't proved nothing to me. Not a damn thing. We're going to give him a car. But the second year, we're going to let him go buy a brand new whatever, and we're going to pay for that. Why can't he just keep driving one of the cheap cars that all the city employees have to drive? Why is he any more special than somebody that's been working here for 20 years? Let's be honest about it. We have to look at this. I want the guy to come here. I voted for him. You know, we need something to move forward. But at the same exact time, he ain't no more special just because he's the manager than everybody else that works for the city. And he shouldn't be treated any better than people that have been here for 20 years. And that's what I have a problem. We're laying out the red carpet for this guy, and the only thing people know about him so far is his name. And none of the elected people where he comes from want him to leave. That's all we know. And his daughter lives down the street. That's the only thing we know about the guy. But let's give him everything in the world. Here you go. And then guess what? Even if you're doing a bad job the first year, we're still going to give you a $10,000 raise plus another 3%, even if you're doing a bad job, because it's up to us to evaluate them. We can't evaluate the people we got now. Can somebody be honest for once? We don't do what everybody pays us to do now. Just saying.
Commissioner Avila Vasquez.
Thank you, Mayor. Can you tell me in the contract where it says that we're going to give him a new car after a year?
No, because it doesn't. It says allowance.
But you said he was getting a new car. Just wanted to make sure that it wasn't there. Evaluations, we did evaluations for the former city managers. We went through this contract with HR and our lawyer for how many days already? And you all had a chance to bring all this up, and you didn't. We came up here with the understanding that everyone up here knew what this contract was about, knew what he was offered, knew what he accepted. And now that we're up at this dais, we're coming up with all these quotes and decisions that wasn't part of the discussion between you and the lawyers. So, we're never going to get to a point where we're going to agree on giving anything to anybody. It's always been the same, going back and forth with every city manager that has been interviewed by the city of Deltona. So having said that, Mayor, I would like to make a motion. I move to approve the city manager employment agreement as presented.
There's a motion by Commissioner Avila Vasquez.
Second.
There's a second by Commissioner Shimkus. Was that Shimkus? Yeah, okay. So hold on, guys. Everybody's going to get to talk. So just one point of clarification. This contract was not the same one that was presented to us when we spoke to you guys, correct?
The only error that is in here is the one I raised, that in the second year when he would get the car allowance, he would give up the city vehicle.
So again, point of clarification. So after you spoke to all 7 of us, no other change was made to this contract? We can't hear you.
There was a change I copied all of you on Friday with regard to Section 11 on insurance.
Correct.
Because 4 of you had raised the issue with regard to the city not paying for his spouse and his 3 dependents. Okay. And we talked to Doc about it. He agreed. It was removed in Section 11. He pays those expenses for his dependents and his spouse. And you were all notified of that change.
Vice Mayor Jody Lee and then Commissioner Harriet.
Thank you, Mayor. I want Doc here. We need the stability in our city. There's no doubt about it. We're lacking it. And I'm sorry if I misspoke and I said we're going to get him a new car. No, we're just basically going to give him the money where he can buy a car, and we'll basically the $650 will make the payments and everything else for the car. It's not about him running out and buying a brand new car and us saying to buy a new car. We're going to give him enough money to buy a new car. So that's what I meant. It wasn't about we're buying him a new car. We're giving him enough money to make the payments on a new car. I want the man to come here. There's no doubt about it. But there's a few things on here that just, they still stand out. I mean, if the motion's been made, now, I guess the points, or the comments now are, it's just a moot point because everybody wants to vote now anyway, but there's still some issues.
Commissioner Harriet?
Thanks, Mayor. My challenge I have with your comment that we should have been working with the city attorney throughout this whole process is that a lot of the comments that I think at least I brought up didn't get made, didn't get changed. So this would be the opportunity for us to communicate amongst ourselves all of those items that we did bring up with the city manager or the city attorney that didn't make it into the contract. So there are a couple of them that I have. To the point about the car payment, I'm not sure 650 covers a car payment, insurance, gas, and maintenance. I think that 650 seems very reasonable for that kind of position. When you start adding that up, you show me a car payment that's under 650 and just like to see it. There are other options other than paying for his deductibles and copays that I think he would be very amenable to. We could contribute X amount and cap that amount at an FSA. So instead of giving it carte blanche, we can just say that the city will contribute $2,000 a year to an FSA. To the other point about the 30 days, the vacation time, I understand that because of Florida statute, we're capped at severance for 20 weeks or whatever it is. So I understand the 45 days front loaded. I think maybe in the additional years after that, I think, 30 days should be more than sufficient since they can be carried over. Would the motioner be amenable to some of these amendments, friendly amendments?
That would be you, Commissioner Vasquez.
Won't we be changing the contract?
Yes, ma'am, and it would have to be discussed with Doc also, I mean, to determine if it's acceptable to him too.
He's watching the meeting.
But yes, you can make changes if that's how you all want to go with this. You can all offer up. We got changes from all of you and numerous changes. And so the only way to do this was, and we changed insurance because there were 4 of you on that one. And so we made that change on Friday afternoon. But to make all the changes and keep going back and forth with Doc all day, I wasn't going to meet the schedule. We had a 4 o'clock deadline to get it advertised for the meeting. I mean, we just couldn't do, and that's when I said at one point we'd have to put 7 different contracts out on the table and you guys could all, move them around or pass them back and forth or whatever. But I mean, it was just an impossible task.
Were the changes being brought up here made during last week to you in HR? Or is this the first time you're hearing?
I have heard with Commissioner Davison, I heard those changes before. The mayor brought up a number of changes. I mean, we wrote them down. It's not like we didn't pay any attention. I mean, we had to find a way to winnow through everything and come up with what we thought was the best of what you all had asked for.
If it's okay with the commission, I'd like to hear from the public. So because I still have the board lit up, but I like to give the public an opportunity to speak. And since it's sunset, I know that some of the people from the selection committee are here. So if we can please.
Robert Trombetta, please.
No, we can't.
There you go. Robert Trombetta, Golden Arm Road, Deltona. Wow. Guys, you can nickel and dime this thing to death. Bottom line is, the city doesn't have much leverage. You had 2 candidates at the end. You had people dropping out because of the toxicity of what they perceived that happens here. It doesn't come from you. Toxicity doesn't come from you. We don't see a whole lot of, I don't see it. Yeah, you guys argue. You're a dais. What dais doesn't? I come from Chicago, where they stand on desks and yell at each other. This is not the end of the world. The toxicity comes from back there. That's what they saw, and that's what they rejected when they said, some of them said they didn't want to come here. Bottom line is, we could give them $250,000, which was maybe, I think, your max, and cut back on some of the perks. You robbed Peter. They robbed Peter to pay Paul. If he didn't come in at $250,000, he's a fool. He should have come in at $250,000. Maybe he did, and you got him down to whatever, $215. But then again, you got to throw in the perks. You got to get him close to the $250. That's the bottom line. What are you doing here? Do you want the guy or not? To protect him, so that he can do his job without interference, you had to find a way to do it, and you did it. Let the guy do his job. My goodness, you're going to hear from pseudo lawyers and people that scream. You're going to hear all kinds of, I want this, and why didn't we do this, and why didn't we do this? Well, guess what? It's called negotiations for a reason. You give and you take. And yes, Commissioner, maybe they brought up your item. And he said, absolutely not. Okay, what are we going to do? Close the shop and say, well, let's go home because we didn't get A, B, or C? You got some things from him. You got a lower salary than what he probably should have gotten because of the situation here. So be happy with what you got. If you want this gentleman, all of you voted for this guy. Now you're going to worry about insurance. When you add it all up, all the perks that he's getting, it's probably a fairly reasonable package considering what we have to offer in terms of our history. Don't drag this out. Don't make this a big... People are going to beef no matter what. There are people in this city who all they want to do is find a negative. All they want to do, they aren't happy unless they can find a negative. By the way, I went to the chef, the Indian restaurant on Deltona. That's what most of the people want, is a new restaurant.
Guys,
we got a new restaurant.
Sorry, I don't mean to interrupt you. It's a special commission meeting. We can't talk about that.
Okay.
Sorry.
Go.
Randy White, please.
Randy White, Deltona. It's not negative. It's not wanting to hear people bitch and cry come tax time when you guys have to raise their taxes, right? Because somebody has to pay for this stuff. So I hope you guys read what I sent. Talked about protections. There's protections you can build in verbally. You don't have to put a price tag on those protections. They're verbal protections. They're in there. I added a few because, so rewind a little bit. I looked at several cities across Florida in their city manager contracts. Lakeland was actually very impressive, by the way. They have over 2,500 employees, right? So their contract is well built. And what I found was we are grossly underestimating what we have to offer here, okay? Just for a concept, I put the 215 in there that you guys agreed to. So it's not like I was even arguing with the points of what the benefits were, right? It's the way the contract is written. But for comparison, you know, the governor only makes $142,000 and is being bumped to about $242. The president makes the cap at $400. So we have to keep all these things relative. In terms of the insurance, deductibles, and copays, I don't think you can legally do that, right? So definitely check into that. You're talking about deductibles, just dental alone, the deductibles on a surgery could be $5K to $20K, right? So you have to think this through because we have to pay that out of our budget. So if it's an emergency, let's say cancerous happens, and the deductible is $50,000, where are you going to pull that out of the budget? Do we even have a cost analysis of what including that is going to be? Because I'm going to tell you what, out of the 15 cities I searched, not one had this in their contract, and there's a reason. Also, all of them verified the hours of work. Why does it say he doesn't have any set hours? It all says 40 hours plus included over 40 hours. You saw what I wrote. Over 40 hours is included based on blah, 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 and it's offset in other ways. There's a reason they cap it at 20 hours for a state statute, and that's not so that anybody can go around and find other ways to give them more money. If you look at even Sanford, which is in Seminole County where you work, their employees, it would take 20 years, right? 20 years to get 200 hours. We're at 360 coming in the door. 192 hours is the typical in all the contracts that I read, which roughly about 24 days. 45 days is obscene. I went ahead and put in the ethics and the transparencies in the contract that I sent you guys. Those are the protections you're looking for. It has protections about non-interference of the commission. It has all these protections that we don't have to give money away for protection. We can write it verbally. We can give him good protection in the contract. And your job is to write a legal contract, one that can be enforceable. Not, well, it can be superseded by the city charter, so who cares? No, then don't put it in there. It's not enforceable. It makes us look stupid. Moving on from that. I mean, there's just a couple things in there. Like I said, I didn't mess with the things you wanted to do with benefits and things like that. It's the wording. The indemnification clause alone is missing the whole other section that every other city has that says, if you do it purposely, though, we don't cover you. All we have is you can do it purposefully and we'll still cover you. There's a whole other section you're missing, guys. It's not about tweaking his benefits and all that stuff. Not even arguing that. Write the contract well. The word and the verbiages is what you are going to battle if it goes to court. Pay attention to that. It's awful.
Kathy Bryan, please.
Kathy Bryan, Deltona. First, thank you for sunsetting our committee. I want to make a couple of things clear. When we did this search, we had our 10 candidates that went down to 2, and then we had our final 5. Keep in mind, 2 of those got other jobs. One person dropped out. 1 was in the hospital, 2 arrived here, and the other 2 I don't think were worth looking at. The issue with Deltona, and I wrote you guys an email, and I know at least one of you doesn't agree with me, but that's okay. This is a two-way street. There's a lot of cities out there who have a lot of issues. We're not the only ones. We're also offering him a chance to move to Florida like he's been wanting. He's got a job now where he's been looking where either other cities haven't chosen him or he's not chosen the other city. So there's movement in here. Some of the things that I had concerns about is, number one, the executive leave of 45 days that can be carried over. So when he doesn't take a vacation, he doesn't take any 6 days, and a couple of years down the road, he decides to leave and we owe him all of that, that's one big lump sum at a time. I recommend, I know you talked about 30 days. What about capping it at the end of the year, 45 days, use it or lose it, or give a partial rollover? Most corporations you will find are proposing that people use their time off for health and mental well-being. That's the trend now. Have him take it off. I'm not going to quibble about a lot of the little expenses. I did have an issue with the COBRA insurance. Most people don't get some of the insurance. Most people don't get that. Not the full deductibles. And I agree with Brandy on what she said so far as we don't wish anybody ill health, but deductibles can start running awfully high and start running the city money. I forgot to bring my email with me. And the severance pay, that was the other thing. Why does he shouldn't get severance pay. I don't care if he leaves with or without cause because he's tired of the city. Why should he get severance pay? Most people, you give at least 90 days to get into a job. It's a trial period between the employer and the employee. Not until I said 6 months to a year, but heck, even after 90 days, let's find out before he starts walking away with severance pay. And then limit it to so much per year, start incrementally increasing it as he's been here for a while to help him bring in, to help give him a reason to stay. I feel like we feel like we have to beg to get somebody here, and other people feel like we have to beg to get somebody here. I think Deltona has a lot to offer, and I don't think we should denigrate ourselves this way, but if we don't do this, we're not going to get anybody. If it's not meant to be, it's not meant to be. It's either going to work or it's not, but we all have to work together. That includes citizens, that includes commission, because the tomfoolery in this city is not on one side. I can tell you that now.
Courtney Crossburgers, please.
Good evening, Courtney Crossburgos, Deltona. I agree with most of what the commissioners have said and most of the people here, and it really, overall, the thing that hits me worst is that we think so little of ourselves that we don't deserve anything and as a city. And if we did that as people, we wouldn't get anything. You get what you project. So if we're going to tell these people, we'll give you all this because we're not worth having anybody good. You're going to have all kinds of trouble here. Like Kathy just said, there's a lot of other towns and cities in this state and others that have all the challenges that we have. And for one of our commissioners to go ahead and ask for a vote before you even hear what the residents have to say, who pays for it in the end, Maritza? You? You did the motion. You did the motion. Okay, you're correct.
We're going to do the back and forth, folks. Come on.
Who pays for all this? We pay for your salaries. We pay for his salary. And yes, if you guys feel that he's the best, you looked at all that, but how come we don't get any say in what we're paying to our government? I mean, that's a lot of money. And to pay all of his deductibles, because once he's met his deductibles and is out of pocket, the insurance will pay for the rest. But you're paying his insurance 100%. Why would we pay his deductibles? And the car, I agree with Jody Lee. I think he should have a city car after the first year. There's no reason. If it's good enough for everybody else, it's good enough for him. Now, if he has to travel somewhere or, whatever, that might be different. You might want a little more upgraded vehicle for a long distance or whatever. But, Brandy wrote that contract, and she didn't really change much of the basics, except he doesn't get the $10,000 after 1 year. He doesn't get the higher percentage that was in your contract, not yours, theirs. He only gets 3%. This should be definitely based on evaluation, on performance. We shouldn't just give him everything because he came here. So what? Like she just said, if it's not right, it's not right. This is a good place to live. These are good people here. and we're scaring everybody off? Well, if he's scared of us, then he doesn't belong here anyway. Okay, because we're nothing. This is just, I don't understand why the residents don't get any say in what his contracts are or the negotiations. We don't see any of the negotiations. Marissa moved that even the other commissioners couldn't go in there and watch over the negotiations. So we don't know what he's given up and what we've given up. To us, it looks all one-sided, pretty much. So how do we know? You're talking about giving him benefits and the peace of mind of his employment. What about giving us peace of mind? What about giving us protection from him? Look at all the last city managers that we've had. What protections have we had? Build some into the contract for us, for all of us. Thank you.
Virgil Ford.
Virgil Ford, District 1. I have a couple things. First of all, the starting salary of $215,000. I just want to point out, Brandy brought some, Sheriff Chitwood, Chief Law Enforcement Officer of the county, he makes $210,000. He has a lot more people that he supervises, he's in charge of. He has a lot more equipment that he's in charge of. And he's got a whole county. I mean, he has other jurisdictions, but the sheriff himself is a chief law enforcement officer. So that's my first, $215,000 is a lot of money, considered what everybody else makes. All right. The vehicle stipend for $650. I don't know where $650 came from, but I do agree with Jody Lee. You got some nice, I was out in the parking lot, you got some pretty nice vehicles out there. You got some Ford Explorers or Expeditions, or look pretty decent. I mean, let him drive one of those. I'd be happy to drive one of those, on company business. He'll be on the city insurance, the city gas. I think he could probably eliminate that. The 45 days of you going in the door with 45 days of vacation, I'm sorry. I've worked for state, federal, city, and you don't walk in with, you earn your leave when you go in there. I mean, that equals out to about 3.95 days a month. So let him work here. He's going to gain his time, okay? Let him work up to that 45 days. I wouldn't give that up front. And the same thing goes with accumulating it. Put some kind of a cap on the accumulating of it, or if he works here for 5 years and hardly takes a vacation, that's a hell of a severance pack. Why the stipend for the cell phone? Just give them, you guys all have issued cell phones. Give them a cell phone. And there's a reason for that, okay? Your cell phones are all, they can be accessed without a court order or a search warrant if there's some type of malfeasance. Probably not, okay? But since Deltona, the city of Deltona owns those phones, they can request those documents. Now, if you give him, and he can have his own phone, that's fine. But if you're paying him for it, I don't see, just give him a phone. I think it's gonna, it's gonna solve a lot of problems. I agree with, pay his insurance, that's fine. I guess the city, I didn't know this, but the city's premiums are paid for, that's fine. But these co-pays and stuff, let him make his co-pays, and everybody else does. The rest of your city employees do. Also, short and long-term disability, I believe that's put in the contract and it's paid for. Most places, when you work for them for short and long-term disability, you pay for that yourself, okay? That's one of those little extras that you pay for. It's not much, but I don't know what it would be in this case. Last thing, I'll describe what a negotiation is. I don't know how much time went into this negotiation, but I'd like to see what the city attorney's hours were, how much they're billing Deltona for. It's a dialogue between two parties to resolve points of difference, gain an advantage for an individual or collective, or outcomes to satisfy various interests. Notice variations in that definition, but that's pretty much the ballpark of it. So I'm just kind of curious. I mean, I like this guy's knowledge, skills, and abilities, but just give us a little bit back. That's all part of the negotiation process. Go back to the table. Thank you.
Tara DiErico.
Hey, good evening, everyone. Tara DiErico, District 3. Thank you for sunsetting us so some of us can come up here and speak. I know many of us have been biting our tongues the last couple of meetings. So a couple things. I know I heard someone say about protecting us, so I just wanted to point out a couple of the positives, then talk about some things I'd like you all to consider. First is I do appreciate, having read under Section 6, that if the city manager resigns, the city will have no obligation to pay a severance amount. I really appreciated reading that in the agreement. I also really appreciated reading under Section 13 that if Mr. Doherty voluntarily leaves within 2 years, he must reimburse the city for all of his moving expenses. So I appreciate that because I know those two things I was very concerned about. Now, of course, want to move on to two areas I'd like you all to reconsider. And again, I am very aware of the art of negotiation. I'm also very aware that I love our city, and I don't believe I don't look at our city as being unworthy, but like a beloved family member, I'm also not blind to the faults of our city, right? And anybody coming into this position is coming into a lot of challenges that they need to wrangle, right? And they're coming into a lot of instability. So just want to point that out, right? At the end of the day, you all need to decide what is it that is worth potentially losing this potential candidate for and having to start the process all over again. But the two areas I'd ask you all to reconsider, haven't spoken in a while, I'm out of my time groove, is Section 9, automobile and technology. I have no issue with the cell phone. Car allowance, I see that every day in my current job. I'm okay with that. But what I didn't care for was the city manager, is the last sentence in bullet 2. The city manager will still be eligible for car rental reimbursement or mileage for out-of-area vehicle usage. What concerned me a little bit was we're not defining what out-of-area vehicle usage is. So I can imagine, right, the intent is if he's got to fly somewhere for training or a conference and needs to rent a car, we'll reimburse him, but that's not defined in the contract. And typically ambiguity in a contract favors the other party, not the party that created the contract. And it's my understanding, and I understand, Marcia, what you're saying, you didn't draft this contract, but I think as the city, we'd be presenting this contract to DOC, so it wouldn't favor us. So don't know if there's a way to just tighten up that wording a little bit. And then also on page 4, section 11, insurance. It's a hot topic tonight. I did also react a little strongly to the fact that we'd be paying the full deductible and full co-insurance. I understand we need to do things to be enticing, right? And maybe if this is what he has in his previous role, clearly he's not going to come here for less benefits, but is there a cap that we can put on it? What bothers me about that is that it's just open-ended. We have no idea what that may look like, and if you have no idea what that may look like, we've heard some of you say it time and time again, to me it's like writing a blank check, right? How do you control that? How do you budget for it? So if that's something that is super important to Mr. Doherty, maybe we can come to terms and cap that amount. Or I think Commissioner Harriet brought it up, put that in a flexible spending account. And then last but not least, I did want to just touch on vacation. Typically vacation time or accrued time off is negotiable. I myself in my current role do a lot of hiring. I just hired someone brand new to our company at 6 weeks paid vacation that we front load because you need to be competitive. You can't expect someone with experience to leave a job with a lot of vacation time and then come to a new job for less. Thank you all very much.
Rachel Amoroso.
Rachel Amoroso, 100 Sweet Gum Woods Court. I also want to thank you for sunsetting us, and I also want to thank you for the opportunity to serve on that committee. I didn't say a lot, but I learned a lot, and I read a lot, and I was glad to be a part of it. There's a couple issues that I had hearing tonight. The fact of people saying that there's people that have been working here for 20 years and they get paid less or they get less benefits. Well, there's always the opportunity to move up. I'm 51 years old and I'm working on my bachelor's degree because I want a better position. Not really, I just want the degree. But the city manager is the...
One moment, I'm sorry guys, no side conversations, go ahead.
I don't care that she was talking. The city manager, she got mad respect for me. The city manager, to me, is the most important person, and obviously they went back and forth, a person with an HR degree and a person who has passed the bar, back and forth with this guy, Doc, as I'm going to call him, with stuff that he wanted and he wanted to see, back, forth, to try and get to an agreement, because we do need to tread lightly if we do want him to come here. The one major issue I have with insurance, and anyone who has insurance through the city can correct me if I'm wrong. I've had United Insurance for a long time, and there is something called max out of pocket. Mine is like $9 grand. I'd like to know what that amount is. If it's $9 grand, that's how much it's going to be. You don't pay anything after that. And I know because I hit it twice already. But if there's a max out of pocket, there's already a cap on the insurance. Most United Health plans have that. As far as the evaluations go, I believe city manager is the one who's responsible for evaluating the employees, not the commission. I could be wrong. I don't know. You guys evaluate the manager evaluates the employee, so maybe that's why it hasn't been done. And the only issue that I have with the contract that I would like to see negotiated is the 40-something days of time. I would like to see it presented back to him. If we give you 20, are you still willing to come? Go back and forth, go low, go high. And that's the only issue that I have. Thank you.
Catherine Gallagher.
Hi, is this on? Okay. Just really want to say, think it should be fair and balanced. We should not be giving him something that other city managers do not get, such as their deductibles paid. Premium, yes, that's understood, but deductibles, no. And I'm not really up here to argue details, but I think that it's important that we understand that he had parameters that were brought up by the committee. He understood what he would be working with when he came here. So with those parameters, I mean, it's possible even that, in the back of my mind, I'm thinking that the search firm said, hey, that city really needs somebody bad. They're desperate. Ask for the moon. So he comes in and asks for the moon. But we shouldn't give away the farm just because he asked for it. He may be our best candidate, but we still need to work and make it fair and balanced, where he wants to come and work and not just take all this time off and go travel and visit his family. I think another thing that is a little bit disturbing is the process. You argued before about how nobody had any input on it, and now it's crammed into a week's time frame. And then she's saying, oh, I don't know, this and that and this, and it's his. And so it almost seems like the process was not put forward for everybody to understand how it was going to work. And now we've got all this chaos back and forth, where it could have been a little bit more manageable and measurable, and that's it.
Terry Haynes.
Terry Haynes, Pepperwood Avenue. I was actually on the search committee as well, and I appreciate being appointed to that. It was definitely an interesting experience. Doc was actually not on my list. I emailed all of you earlier this afternoon. He was not my first three choices. However, coming to the meet and greet, which was a great thing to have, I got to stand back, and I really didn't talk much. I observed and I listened to the conversations he was having with the residents. And there were a couple concerns I had And I just listened to how he answered the same concerns other people had, and I was very impressed. I want Doc to come to the city. You all have seen, or you all have received an email from me. I'm not going to sit here and read all that back to you. However, there's a couple things as I'm sitting here. The first thing is I am absolutely stunned that we pay a city attorney to work on the legal behalf of this city. And I'm sitting here listening, and there's a clause in this contract that she's sitting there saying, oh, well, that goes against the charter. Just take 30 seconds and think about that. That should have not been in there to start with, because the city attorney is responsible. She's bringing you a contract that doesn't even make sense legally with our charter. That's ridiculous. I do echo basically what Kathy and Tara both said. I won't reiterate all of that. I do feel that 45 days is a little much. I mean, it's a great offer for sure, but when you sit there and factor that into your business week, you're basically looking at 2 months a year that you're giving as vacation time or paid time off. And you're allowing it to carry forward. So if he doesn't use it the first year, it goes in the next year. So then you're looking at basically 4 business weeks that he would be able to have, 8 weeks at that point. I don't agree with doing copays. That's my personal opinion. And then the only other thing, and I'll close with this, is that I'm also stunned that I'm sitting here at a meeting that the public comes to be able to give comment, and we have a commissioner that sits there and wants to make a motion to vote on it before you actually listen to your constituents. Thank you.
Albert Bryan.
Good evening. Albert Bryan, Deltona. You know, I gotta say, this has been great to hear tonight. It really has. But there's also something else I want to say before I get started on this, and that's to the commissioner who told me and other people that I put out a false agenda. It's funny, that agenda hasn't been revised yet since I put it out. So before you spread any more lies about me, stop. That's the wrong thing to do to me. Now, normally, I would take and say that this is a terrible contract, that this was written by an idiot. Okay, that's partly true. But now, I'm not going to say that tonight. What I'm going to say tonight is if you vote on this, you are creating a charter violation, not once, not twice, but 3 times. If you vote on this, then you are in, as far as I'm concerned, deep doo-doo, because I will actually take it to the next level now. Because if you accept, and I haven't even heard one of the actual violations, no one caught it. No one caught it. Why are we paying her? Now, if nobody caught it, that includes you 7. That includes those 3. I'll even say Brandy White didn't even catch it because I read her version of it. And it's a really, really bad violation as far as I'm concerned. And if you vote yes on this tonight, I will find you all in malfeasance.
Mayor, that ends public comments.
We have Commissioner McCool and then Vice Mayor Jody Lee, and then we'll go, if there's no other discussion, we'll go to a vote.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Actually, I'm really good. I don't need to hear anything else, don't need to say anything else, so thank you.
With all the comments from all the residents, I know there's a motion out there, so I'll wait to see what happens with the motion. But in my opinion, we rushed it really fast in a week. And I know other people sitting up here evidently don't like that I'm saying that. But we rushed really fast in a week. I don't see why we couldn't work on it a little bit longer. Wait until next Monday when we actually have a meeting scheduled. But the only difference is this, the only thing I would say is I would think, but there's a motion on there, so I can't change it. But if it was up to me at this point, what I would do, I would say let's put it on for next Monday, and in between this time, let someone like Commissioner Harriet work with them to fix the issues we're having. Because now we had a meeting, we've heard what everybody up here said, we've heard what people here said, we might be able to come to a consensus for an equilibrium in the middle. But that's just my opinion. So I'll wait to see what happens with this motion. But if we just vote on it, it's just dead and we start over. But if someone withdraws the motion and I get to do this, then it won't be dead. Just saying. You know what I'm saying? You get what I'm saying, right? If you would, go ahead.
Madam Attorney, just for clarification, if the motion dies today, we can call on another special commission meeting to come back. Obviously, you're going to have to renegotiate the contract if it doesn't pass. Is that correct? Okay. So there's no other comments. Unless the person that made the motion wants to amend it, then we're going to go for a vote. Do you want to amend your motion?
No.
Okay, so we're going to vote. The motion fails 4-3. So at this time, I'd like to make a motion myself, with permission from the dais. I'd like to make a motion to appoint Commissioner Harriet, since he has experience with, it did not pass.
You need 5.
You need 5. Guys. I'd like to appoint Commissioner Harriet to help with the contract negotiations.
Second.
So a motion by myself and a second by by Vice Mayor Jody Lee.
The only way that I'll be okay with this is if we continue having open discussion about this, what
That's fine.
everybody would like.
Sorry.
The only way that I would be okay with this is if we continue to have open discussion.
Unless we're up here, we can't have open discussion.
That's what I'm saying. Tonight, if we could go down the dais and everybody can just kind of say
so
the things.
us all give you a point that we'd like to see, and then you try to negotiate it, whether we get it or not. I got it.
That's
all right. We're in the middle of a vote, folks. Let's go ahead, Commissioner Vila Vasquez. Did you want to say something before we
Okay, I understand what you're trying to say, but I think that discussion should be done with the HR and the lawyer, because they're the ones that have to upgrade this contract with the candidate. I mean, I think I heard everybody up here, what, you know.
Guys, please.
So you still have to go back to the attorney in HR to, let them know what your concerns are and what you need to change. And then that has to be brought back to the candidate, and then has to be brought back here again. So even if we discuss it here, it doesn't mean that the candidate is going to accept it, which is a waste of time. So I think that we all should go back, sit with the attorney and HR, address our concerns, let them make the changes, which probably we have already mentioned, everybody else here has mentioned them. Let them bring it up to the candidate, to the the city manager that is applying for the position, and then whatever he accepts is going to come back to us anyway for a vote.
All right, there's just for point of order, there's already a motion on the floor that I'm not going to retract, and there's a second. Could we please vote? Who are we waiting for? Commissioner McCool. Motion passes 6-1. All right. So we're going to go ahead down the line just one more time. So Vice Mayor Jody Lee, Commissioner McCool, and then Commissioner Harriet, and then we're going to go ahead and move on.
Thank you, Mayor. Commissioner Harriet, my point of view about you helping. You've heard what all of us voiced. You've heard what people here, everybody here was pretty much on the same page of what they discussed. I personally think you can take everything we've already said, what they've said, and you can talk to them all the time without the commission. There's no rule violation to talk to any of them, and I think you're a smart enough man to realize all the different things we've concerned and voiced, and all the things they've voiced, and take it to them, and get with Marcia and Ms. Flores and HR to come up with a consensus to get it all in order. And I think it should be able to be back on the meeting for next Monday. Another week is not going to kill us. If we've waited this long with the turmoil in our city, a week ain't going to hurt us.
Commissioner McCool.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. First of all, every single point that was brought up by every commissioner up here should have been brought up prior to this meeting. Truly. So disappointed in that. So disappointed all this wasn't discussed, because to me, it's pandering. And before, what I'm saying is that we had a lot of opportunity to bring this up to over here. We had plenty of opportunity to ask Commissioner Harriet to do this. We had plenty of opportunity to do this. This is why we don't move forward cohesively, because of this. And it's BS. It's grandstanding to me, it's BS. It's political to me, and it's BS. There are absolute concerns that we've been hearing for 2 weeks. The concerns that I heard from my district and my business owners about a city manager, I took right here. This is why we are not taken seriously, and it's BS. All this information that we have from here, you got plenty of social media, you have plenty of people speaking out, writing, calling, commenting. We had opportunity to do this. I hope that the candidate is listening to this. I understand what we're trying to do, and I understand that there are problems with that. But it upsets me a lot. Not that we're not moving forward, but the fact that all of this should have been done prior to. We look like idiots, incompetent idiots up here because of this. Whatever. Listen, this is my time. I understand that.
We're not going back and forth.
Mr. Mayor, I'm not going back and forth. I'm simply stating what my disappointment is in this process. Before each meeting, everybody has time to meet with the city manager on agenda items, and everybody's had plenty of time to do this before now. So take the concerns back. I don't disagree with Commissioner Harriet. He works in finance. He understands these points. It is the process that we did not adhere to, and I'm disappointed. And I'm just saying that publicly. Our public has stood up. Our public has put input. We have over 100,000 people, or at 100,000 people here, and I've heard from them. I just wish that we would do better moving forward on this matter. And if we're going to do this again, 2 days is sufficient time to do this, because if not, if we wait another week and we don't have a special meeting on this, our candidate could walk away watching this. So we have the points, they're whittled down, take them. Notice tomorrow a special committee or a special commission meeting and have it done. I'm not waiting for, I don't want to wait for another week here. If this can't be solved, everybody's made their voice heard tonight. So whatever. Moving forward, we need to do this within 2 days. Have this noticed and move forward.
All right. I have Commissioner Harriet on the board. I just want a point of clarification, and then we're going to move on. Because this back and forth, we've been doing very well getting along and getting things done. But to sit here and say that we have not brought these concerns to the people negotiating the contract is completely false. I brought up a lot of the concerns, as many of you have, so I'm sorry, some of us don't have, I just don't understand where this is coming from, that we haven't brought up the concern that, oh, we have an issue with whether it's the deductibles or whether it's the car allowance. Concerns were brought up. That's all I was trying to get to, is concerns were brought up. I understand you're disappointed that we brought up the concerns. I'm not trying to, I'm going to speak for myself. I'm not trying to scare Mr. Doc away. I want him to come. I want him to be successful. But you know what? I love my city too, Commissioner. I think Deltona, everybody pokes fun at me because I call it the city of destiny. I think it's the most amazing city in Central Florida. When I'm out there representing the city and other mayors are around me, they tell me, you know what? You could tell that you represent Deltona and you love your city. And I'm not going to let the fear of some person leaving us make me treat Deltona like it's the most garbage city to come and work for. It's not. Deltona is the best place to come, to live, to hopefully one day to work, and to do everything you have to do. And you know what? Doc is going to help us get there. But it's a give and take relationship, 50-50. I wanted to see the salary of $190. It was stuck at $215. You know what? I can live with that. But there's some things that I can't live with. So Commissioner Harriet, then Vice Mayor Jody Lee.
To Commissioner McCool's point, could we not wait until Monday? And could we do this at a special meeting at the end of the week, Thursday or Friday? Anybody got thoughts on that?
How much legal notice do you need for another special commission meeting?
48 hours.
48 hours. Can I get consensus from the dais so we can have another special commission meeting in 48 hours?
We have one Monday, 7 days from now.
No.
No, we don't want to wait 7 days.
Okay.
I'll go down the line if I have to. Okay, go ahead.
I want to make a motion. Can we get a special meeting 48 hours from now?
Thursday.
That's what we said.
Thursday night.
That's what we said.
Thursday night.
Yeah.
Okay.
I thought we were just talking about not rushing it. And, I mean, from Thursday to Monday.
Okay, is that your motion?
Yeah, for a motion for a special meeting on Thursday, but we just said don't rush it. What's between?
We're not rushing. That's plenty of time.
It shouldn't take that long.
I'll make a motion for us to have a special meeting.
We need to have some order, guys. Finish your motion, and then we can all see if we're going to vote.
Make a motion to see if we can have a special meeting on Thursday of this week, May.
Joyce, did you want to say something?
I just want for the public's knowledge, if I post it, it's going to be posted tomorrow. You will not see that contract until the day of. Just saying. You're going to get an agenda memo.
Do it Thursday.
The agenda memo will advertise what's going to be on there, but they won't have a contract in 2 days, so it won't be attached to the agenda is my only point.
Thursday.
Motion. You made your motion? Okay. There's a motion for Thursday.
Second.
Second by Commissioner McCool. Can we please vote? Motion passes 7-0. We're going to go ahead and we're going to move on. So at this time, we're going to go ahead and move to Section C, which is discussions of Ordinance 11-2024 for a temporary moratorium until January 1st, 2025. If we can please have the city attorney speak on this.
Yes, Mr. Mayor. This item was put on so that in the attempt to move this process as quickly as we could, and so it was advertised for tonight so that I could get it on the P&Z, which is on April or May. It will be on May 15th agenda is when the moratorium ordinance will first come on. I have received comments from some of you with regards to some particular...
Excuse me, folks, I want to be able to hear everyone, so when you guys are on the podium, I do the same thing. We want to make sure you guys are respectful with your time. So, Marcia, please finish.
that there, if you look on page 3 of 4 is when we get into the criteria. This draft ordinance is almost identical to the one that was approved in 2022 for 6 months and then terminated. And during that time, we had 2 hurricanes and a number of staff changes at the top, so nothing really happened. Right now, you have had information from your consultants on the comprehensive plan and the schedule, and also on the land development code. So the plan is to get it to the P&Z in May, and your last meeting in May to the commission, and then the second hearing that you would have to have in the first week of June. With regards to page 3 or 4, it sets out criteria. I have had comments from some of you on a desire to change some of the criteria, and I was trying to move around, trying to ask staff people, to give me some suggestions with regard to some of this. I couldn't get it in time for tonight. I also understand that in the next week, what I will do is rewrite this with that new criteria, and so we'll have plenty of time to get it advertised and put on the P&Z agenda. So all you have to do tonight is agree that we're moving forward. We're going to the P&Z, and from there to 2 public hearings, and I will rework the criteria.
Commissioner McCool, then Vice Mayor Jody Lee.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Marcia, I would like to find out what the implications are, because we are bringing in a new city manager who I'm sure has read our strategic plan, right, that we have. And what does this look like if we push this out? We understand, because we've asked for this moratorium in order for the city manager to land. I'm talking, I guess, 30 days to start the process, so at least he can start looking into it if we would have consensus on that matter to wait, because what are the implications there? What would we need to do?
It was my understanding in talking to a number of you that there was a sense of urgency with regard to getting this moving, and so that's why I got it out as fast as I did. The issues are that, we're getting busy with regard to projects, and we still are severely understaffed in the planning department. So, so there are some challenges we face. If you wanted to delay it, we have to go to the P&Z and then 2 public hearings at the commission. And from the final public hearing, your moratorium would last for 6 months. And at the end of the 6 months, and it only applies to residential, not commercial. At the end of the 6 months, then residential applications would then be eligible to come back again.
Okay, let me ask you this. After this ordinance, if it moves forward and with the forward motion and momentum that we have right now, can this ordinance be asked to come back to the commission for an amendment? If we place the initial moratorium and we say move forward with this, but we want to amend this ordinance, can we do that also with input from the new city manager without affecting where we're at? Because I know some of the goals that we had before with the moratorium that just weren't implemented. So I'm asking.
Sure. After you approve it, you do have an option to extend it for 90 more days.
Right, but I want to understand. I want to understand what the implication is legally, because here's what I'm thinking is that if this city manager comes in 30 days, right? We have a couple more days. We're thinking about this from the forward date. If we say that we're moving forward with this moratorium as of this evening, it stops at this. The clock starts right now as far as anyone being able to. But my concern is developers bum rushing us with development. If we announce tonight that we're going to introduce a moratorium without introducing it tonight, but I want us to have plenty of time in which to do the framework so that it is effective.
I know. No, your time doesn't start. I was just trying to get out on the P&Z, so because the P&Z is the first step before I can bring it to the commission. Your time doesn't start running. I mean, it doesn't start running tonight.
Right.
I mean, I'm just scheduling. Now, if you want to wait and push it all back, that is something you can do. I was just trying.
No. I understand that. I don't want to do that, though, however, because we asked for this, but I want our time to be effective, is what I'm saying.
I understand. And I mean, you guys are in control of that time. I mean, you have to look at it. We have to get through advertising. We have to get to the P&Z and then 2 public hearings. So when you look at, we're looking at, I don't know, Joyce, 6 weeks, 8 weeks to get through the whole process?
So for P&Z, if you're going to put it on the P&Z for May, so that's the 15th. So this Friday, I have to advertise it for that. Normally, when we do the ad for P&Z, we also do the first reading. We were trying to rush this, so the first reading would be May 20th. Normally, I skip a regular commission meeting in case you have changes so that she can alter the ordinance for the second reading, but I have them going back to back to back to back.
Okay.
You can do it, so what will happen in June, it will be either the 3rd or it can be the 17th, which is the way I normally would do it, skipping the 3rd in case you have changes. It's up to you guys, but I need 15 days to advertise.
I understand. Okay.
And you do have, at this point, the start date that we were given for Doc was June 10th.
Okay.
So I was working within that time frame also.
Thank you for clarification.
Vice Mayor Jody Lee.
Thank you, Mayor. This was quick. We had a moratorium when some of us got elected. It was enacted with the prior city commission. We had it, and then it expired, and we just wasted it. We did absolutely nothing with it. When this comes up, now, like Commissioner McCool was just saying, and I don't know if the question was fully understood. Right now that we're talking about it, developers are now going to hear us talking about it. They're going to come out of the woodwork to try to get it on paperwork, so this way we can't stop them from doing stuff. But also, if this goes forward, we also, before it gets brought to us for moratorium, we need the top people in this city to give us a plan. Not, hey, we want to work on it, because we've been working on a lot of stuff since I got here in November a year and a half ago, and we ain't done diddly. So there's a lot of stuff that needs to be worked on, and we're still waiting. So I just hope we actually got a plan before this comes forward. It's not on, sorry, that's not you. There was another city manager, there was other people in different positions that nobody moved forward. If we're going to do this, bring us a plan at the same time. Don't say, we're going to do a moratorium, but have no idea what the heck we're going to do. Because then we're just going to waste it all over again.
Just for clarification, Vice Mayor, I believe it goes to P&Z. P&Z does the changes that they believe we need. Then it comes to us. We approve it or don't approve it, but if we approve it, we can still make changes, so the second time it comes around, it's the final reading, correct?
Mr. Mayor, are you talking about the changes in this ordinance, or are you talking about changes you're going to make to the comp plan and the LGC?
In this ordinance.
Okay, yes.
Okay.
Then you're correct.
We can make a change in the ordinance, but then it's only extended for another 90 days. That's
from the day it passes the second reading.
Right.
Okay.
So
well, first it's 6 months. First it's 6 months. Then you have the option to extend it an additional 90 days. And it's my understanding with that schedule you got from the consultant that's been hired with regard to the visioning sessions and all those, that process will be in effect this summer.
You're right. Mr. City Attorney, not to cut you off, but you're right. But that consultant that came here and told us about our population, how many people live here, how many schools we got, how many houses we have, this is all the stuff we already all knew. So you know what he told us? Nothing. He didn't tell us nothing. I told him thanks for telling me about the houses and our income and our poverty levels. We already knew that before he got here. So I just want to make sure we have a plan to come to us to fix the issues we're having before it goes in effect. Because not having a plan doesn't do us no good. Thank you.
Commissioner McCool.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And I believe to that point that falls on staff, which would follow that when the
new city manager comes in, from what I understand in my conversations talking to him, is to get those positions filled. It was one of his 30, 60 days that was really, really important to him. That's going to be staff planning for our city. The data that we have gathered are pretty much demographics. What do we do with this information? It's up to staff to implement and for us to write. This is in our comp plan. I mean, so getting him in here, and that's my understanding of what one of his more important goals were, because I believe in talking to him and us going through the process that that was one of his top 3 important things, because it was important to all of us. So with that being said, again, I was just trying to avoid the bum rush, like you talked about, the bums rush of development trying to come in here with residential. I mean, we still have serious concerns with hurricane season. All of those are going to go hand in hand. Mitigation, moratorium, all of that's going to be worked on, I believe, at the same time, according to what his plan was and what our goal setting was for that. So I think that we're all fired up about this enough to hold accountability for this and to vote this through. If this ordinance is to be changed, this ordinance can be changed within the time frame of the moratorium going on, which, if it needs to be the different goals or language, I believe will be well served by the new city manager coming in and by staff that he brings in. So that's what I was trying to, I'm on the same page with you, Vice Mayor, about that. We need to do it now, though, because you're right. You hear this now televised, and you're going to get app, and we need to be prepared for that.
So can I make a consensus?
So is there any public comment on this? And then we'll, if you want to make a motion afterwards.
Jim Peshka, please.
Needs a motion.
Jim Pescia, Deltona. I've been up here before and I asked for a moratorium. I know I was out of line when I said I wanted one open-ended. I know the state gets those limitations. But as it's been said, we can't say stop building while we make up our mind what we want to do when we have no idea what we're going to do. I think that we're talking about putting the cart in front of the horse again. We've done this before. I don't think we should continue down that line. Yes, we're talking about a land use plan. We're talking about our comp plan. We're even talking about the Teresa Water Basin study. That's supposed to go on for 18 months. Maybe we could look at that as a separate piece. That's a flood zone. Maybe we can just stop building the flood zone for an extended period of time. Didn't Norman Beach do something like that for 18 months? We have to stop and take a look at what we want to accomplish before we start doing something. I love the idea. Me, I don't want to say anybody can put their application in now, and then once the moratorium, we'll just continue business as usual. We did that last time. Got us nowhere. If we put a moratorium in place, worded so that if you didn't break ground, you don't break ground. That's all I can say right now. Let's put the horse in front. Thank you.
Tara DiErico.
Hey, everybody, Tara DiErico, District 3. So I just confirmed with Joyce, because this is coming up in front of the P&Z board, I'm not allowed to speak tonight. So thank you, Joyce. I'm glad I confirmed that. So I will email you all tomorrow. Thank you.
Albert Bryan, please.
Good evening. Again. It's terrible getting old. Let's see here. Moratorium. Moratorium. You know what's funny? The one that was here 2 years ago is the same one we have here for this one. Isn't that interesting how that works? All they did is change the name of the mayor and change the dates on it. Wow, that's interesting to me. That means that when they wrote that, there was no input into what y'all wanted to do, or what you didn't want to do, or what you cared less about doing, and or anything else. This tells me that there is absolutely no plan at all from you. Because if you had direction, they would have taken that direction and put it in here, wouldn't have they? Yeah, that's what I thought. But this is really getting the cart before the horse. Because what happened last time? Oh, that's right. Right in the middle of this moratorium, we lost a manager. Then that November, we had an election. We changed the composite of what we have up here. What's going to happen this year? Oh, that's right. We're going to get another new manager, aren't we? Yeah. Oh, and that's right. There's an election. Oh, and there's going to be 4 new people. So we're going to change the composite up here once again. Now, the one thing I scoured for almost 3 hours to look for in all of our meetings this year, and going even back into last year, was the one thing that I'm missing that you have to do before you actually do this. Oh, and there's one reason why I know this, because when we did the small box moratorium that actually never even got off the ground, they did it. And it basically says that you have to take and make a resolution that says that you are going to take and legislate. This is an ordinance. You can't do the ordinance before you do the resolution. By state statute, you have to do the resolution that says you're going to legislate in order to be able to do that. So obviously, we got the cart before the horse, big time. Because you have to wait 30 days after you do the resolution before you can do the ordinance. By state statute. So why are we actually, doing an ordinance or even looking to do an ordinance before we do the actual required legislation called a resolution? And basically what you want to say in this resolution, oh, let me look here. It says that by recognizing and confirming legislation in progress. Maybe y'all need to actually start there rather than starting with the ordinance.
That closes public comments.
Madam Attorney, can you please give us all some clarification on that, please?
The last time we did this, we did an ordinance. We started with an ordinance. We did do the box store type of situation, and we did do a resolution in that situation. And this one, we did an ordinance. So,
Do we require legally by state statute and resolution before the ordinance?
I can't answer that tonight. I mean,
I don't expect you to know everything. I didn't ask you to. A simple, I can get back to you with an answer would have been
that's
perfectly fine with me.
Whatever. That's fine.
Okay. Is there any other conversation from the dais? Go ahead, Vice Mayor.
I just wanted to make a motion to move this forward, but make sure we have a plan before it comes back to us on the dais. I understand that's going to P&Z, but to make sure it has a plan before it comes back to us. That's my motion.
And,
sorry. Read the motion.
Right.
And then Commissioner Harriet wants to speak. Discussion only. Go before.
I don't see that we have, I agree this is an important thing for us that we need to do, but we don't have the Teresa Basin study done. We don't really have anything for that. We are missing our planning department manager. We've got a city manager coming in that is from out of state that doesn't have experience with the uniquities of Florida. I think, I hate to use the overused term of the night, but I think we're putting the cart before the horse if we do anything with this tonight. We're just giving the developers a reason to jump and put all the projects through that we don't like. And they're going to put them through, and then they're going to ask for amendments and changes to them once they're already in. But we need to wait. We need to wait for at least the city manager, the planning director to get hired. We need to have those strategic visioning sessions with the commission as a whole, but also with the new city manager, so he understands. It's that simple.
Commissioner McCool, then Vice Mayor Jody Lee.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And there again would like legal clarification because if I remember correctly, when it talks about the resolution in that part of the state statute, it talks about exact zoning changes as opposed to what we're trying to do with a broader reaching ordinance. So I would like clarification on that also. I will need to go back and read also. It's in the 160s, I think, as far as state statute goes. So I would like clarification on that also, and I would encourage us to all go back and read that because there are specific things that you would need a resolution for, but they're not all ordinances. There are caveats in there would need a resolution. So I would like clarification on that also. I'm not an attorney, and I don't see any attorneys out in the audience, so I just want that clarified also.
Before I vote as well, so I agree. Vice Mayor Jody Lee.
I agree with everybody's concerns, but like I said, this is going to go to the P&Z first and then back to us. So it's going to be months out. So if we wait months to get it started, well, Joe should say it can't go to the P&Z until later this month, but it's going to come back to us. We can, once we talk about it, we can make the changes then.
Okay.
So it's still going to take us 2 months to bring it back to us. No? June.
Yeah, the first week of June.
Yeah, but I said you have to also...
June 3rd or June 17th.
Right, but I also said don't bring it to us unless we have a plan. That's going to take longer than June 3rd, June 17th. I mean, right now, we don't even have nobody that works for the city in these positions. So if you try to bring it back to us prior to that, I said don't bring it unless you have a plan. So it can't come back to us in June because we have nobody in City Hall that does this job. So it's a motion to get this started, but you can't bring it back to us until you have a plan.
If we get it.
Okay.
Commissioner, hold on. Let's all. All right. There's a motion by Vice Mayor Jody Lee and a second by Commissioner Colwell. Commissioner Harriet, you're on the board.
I think if we get it started now, we're putting ourselves in a predicament because we start the clock and all the developers then know. Well, they already are to some extent, but just wait, that waterfall is going to get taller.
He's right. I agree.
And at the end of the day, this is only good for so long. So why are we rushing at the beginning just to be stuck in the same spot we were in the past?
It's 9 months.
Commissioner McCool?
The process, the moratorium, I need us to, I'm just clarifying for my own edification, moratorium is 9 months. 6 months were given, and then 90 days after that. That's 9 months, okay? The bum's rush is already going to happen, period. I know it's already going to happen. You already advertised, you already noticed, the agenda has been out there, right? And we have specific goals that we had at the last moratorium that were not implemented. We had a pretty bright city manager when we brought this up, but due to storms, political reasons, whatever, were not followed through on. And I would encourage all of us to go back and read those and read the actual strategic plan that was presented to us. And okay, cart before horse, but here's the thing also, we're also about to get run over because of that. We have the power on this dais right here by vote of any project that comes up here right now to say no to. And we're well within our legal rights if these things do not meet the character of the area, if we have specific flooding concerns, okay? We can say no to any development that comes through to us, and they have to come back. They can come back in a year. If we have reasonable consensus that we feel like a particular project is a threat to our city for one reason or another. So we need to remember that about the power of this dais also. Not everything is a rubber stamp in Deltona. You can bring as many projects as you want to as a developer to this dais, and it's incumbent upon us to look at each project individually to say if this is a good project for our city. That is the power that is not movable during a moratorium. So keeping that in mind, we can push the clock back on this until we get the city manager seated, and remembering that as we examine each project that comes through on its own merits, because that's what's going to come through. Commercial is, the moratorium's not going to do that anyways. This is going to be about shoving more residential in here, because residential is where we have, what is most of our concern about? Flooding, period. That is what the most of concern is. So if we have concerns on a project and flooding, we can ask for more research into that project. We can ask for it to come back. We can say no. It gets moved out 2 months to a next reading. We bide our time that way. The moratorium's not our only option to stop and look at a development closely, right? So we have that power also.
Before I go to Commissioner Harriet, I just want to just remind the commission that we are moving from El Nino to El Nino, which means we're going to get hit with about, and I think Commissioner McCool and Commissioner Shimkus were there for the West Volusia Summit, we're going to get hit with about 21 hurricanes, of which 7 to 8.
Whoa.
Prediction? It's a prediction.
That's not anywhere near what the prediction was.
That's exactly what he said, because I took the notes.
No, the prediction was not that we're going to get hit by those storms. The prediction was season-wide. Those are the number of named storms, and I believe it was 23 in the Atlantic Basin. It was not.
And 7 to 8 were
would make
Category
landfall.
3 or higher, correct?
Yeah, but not that would hit Deltona.
No, I didn't say specifically we would hit Deltona. It would hit the United States.
You said we're going to get hit with 21 storms. That's
all right, Commissioner Harriet. Next time I would ask you respectfully to call point of order, and I will recognize you. Until then, I will not recognize you, okay? I get it. Commissioner Harriet, and then we'll go to Commissioner Villa-Vasquez.
Back to Dana's point, I think it's the commission has those powers. We don't need the moratorium for those powers. I think it'd behoove us to push this moratorium forward without a strategic vision. I don't want to recycle the vision from a few years ago. Not all of us were here, so that's my final piece.
Commissioner Villa-Vasquez, and then Vice Mayor Jody Lee.
Thank you, Mayor. And to the point, our DRC group is doing a pretty good job lately with putting holes on new projects that are coming in. So I think they're also going to be a big help for that. I just want to let them know what a good job they've been doing lately. I know one project specifically that was sent back by DRC because they did their own investigation. So I think that group is going to be helping, this any new projects that are coming up who want to be rushed in before we do anything.
Vice Mayor Jody Lee.
I agree, Commissioner Villa-Vasquez. The DRC is doing a good job. I know another project they turned away also. I'll withdraw my request, but when it does come back to us, I just hope they have a plan and not just a blank request for a moratorium, an actual plan in writing, pictures, something we can see. That way we can actually implement something. And last time it came to us, or rephrase that, last time it came to this commission, Several of us weren't here. They passed it once the election took place, and then we did nothing with it. So I want to make sure if it does come back to us and we push it forward, that there's actually a plan and not just talk. So I'll withdraw my request.
I don't know what that means.
Is it? Move on.
All right, so it dies for the lack of anything. City manager?
No comments, Mayor.
No comments. So special commission meetings, are we still supposed to have city commission comments? Joyce?
I'd actually, point of order.
Yeah.
If anybody has anything that they would like to see in the city manager contract, if we could use this time to also,
Perfect.
We didn't really hear from Commissioner Shimkiss or Caldwell while we're here and I'd like to hear those.
If there's no objection, then I think that's a good point taken, so.
Thank you, Mayor. But originally, I did, as well as another commissioner, ask Mr. Whitcomb to put commissioner comments on here because there was a couple of things I wanted to address at this meeting. So that's why we asked for commissioner comments to be put on here. So whenever we're done talking about this, before we could conclude our meeting, I'd like to bring up a couple things.
So just bring them up while you're doing your portion of what we're talking to Commissioner Harriet. So we'll go down the line. So Commissioner Harriet, well, you're the one listening to us. Did you want to add some stuff?
I don't have any additional comments.
Okay. Commissioner Shimkiss?
Thanks. Yeah, I think there's a lot of good comments that were made tonight, so I'm fine with it going back and forth a little more. I would just, echo. I'm not going to echo all the things. I think you got a lot of the good notes. I think when it comes to the transportation issue, I would say revisit the reimbursement for miles when he has a car we're already paying for. That's a small thing overall, but I guess if we're going to be looking at all the little things that are going to be adding up, I have asked before, and I would ask again as you work through this, that we get a section by section calculation of the cost of this, so we have a full value of this contract before we have to vote on it again, and then
Could change now.
kind of on the. I will just say, since I know everyone's going to be listening and things, I think it's revisit the termination processes and which ones are worthy of severance and which ones are not. I had some concerns with us, him being able to say, I think I'm going to not get a vote of confidence from everybody, so I'm just going to leave and get my severance. I think that needs to be revisited if we're going to have that opportunity. I think other than that, every industry is different. And when it comes to the insurance payments, the executive leave thing, I hear the concerns. In my industry, none of that was out of ordinary. So I think we're all coming at this from different experiences in different industries. And I'll just say that, I find it unfortunate that anyone would take concerns or opportunities that we've raised as any one of us or someone saying that the city sucks and is not worthwhile. That's not what anyone is being saying. What we're saying is we have challenges. We've created our own challenges in many of these areas. We recognize that, and there is a cost to that, but I take great exception to anyone characterizing our concerns or our acknowledgement of that with us not liking our city or thinking we're not valuable. That's absolutely false. And I would ask that we stop pushing that narrative from what we think we're hearing. So with that, I'll be quiet and thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Shimkiss. Commissioner Avila Vasquez? Commissioner McCool?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And we have had very robust conversation tonight. We've had very robust conversation about this whole process, and I believe that within the best of our knowledge that we have tried to listen to everyone's concerns. And I believe that all of us are human, and I believe that everyone is prone to feeling invalidated if their concerns aren't met, and that's simply not true. I believe that it is human nature to feel that if your suggestions aren't taken, that people are slapping you in the face or not listening to to you or whatever, and that's simply not true. And I listen to the public very, very closely. I solicit feedback. I take criticism and try to listen to criticism in a positive way. I try to listen to feedback because I want it. It's not always pretty, but I want it. But I also feel like Commissioner Shimkus is that to say that anybody is trying up here is trying to enrich themselves or trying to screw the public over or doesn't care about what a resident says is very disingenuous. Because I take this stuff home with me every single meeting, after every meeting, and I go over what was said, and I try to contact people that had something to say. But I'll tell you that anyone shuts down when approached in an aggressive and hateful and demeaning manner, and I will not address concerns if they are hurled at me like that. It is not my job to do that. I do take constructive criticism and feedback, and I will listen to that all day long. But I'm not also going to legislate from up here based on social media mythology or justice or whatever. Everyone needs an outlet, and I understand that. I do. I've walked out of here mad because I didn't get my way on a vote, and I understand how it feels when you feel like you're not being heard, but you're being heard. And concerns are being answered. So I wanted to address that also. As far as the city manager contract, I asked for this to come back in 2 days. And trying to strike the balance of whatever has been put up here, I think has been very concise from each commissioner, what their concerns are on behalf of their residents. And these are not because of shortcomings of a failure of two people that are negotiating here. It's because you are trying to get 7 people that split a city of 100,000 people to get to the best resolution for everybody. And we have to take feedback from that. This is not about what the quality of job that they're doing. It's about valid concerns from every commissioner that listens to every resident. So there is that. And I think that 2 days, we've whittled down enough that we've been able to talk amongst us and have this dialogue and debate back and forth that it's provided valuable feedback. For me, absolutely. And my concerns and what I said to the point of that we've had a lot of time to take our concerns back. There's stuff that's going to come up in 10 hours ago, 7 hours ago, that we weren't able to address. But cohesively, I believe that this is a good contract, except for the points that we had the most concern about, which I think, fall into the insurance, possibly the aggregate of which we need to understand so that we can inform our public. So I am in agreement upon that also. So, Mr. Mayor, thank you very much for that. Thank you for expanding on this portion so that we could address those concerns also.
Commissioner Villa-Vasquez has a question.
Commissioner McCool, you said come back in 2 days. Is that what you're asking?
No, I meant we're coming back for a special meeting in 48 hours. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Commissioner Stephen Caldwell.
Yeah, other than the election termination clarification, that's all I'm really looking for at this point.
Vice Mayor Jody Lee.
Yep. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Everybody's voiced their opinions tonight. Commissioner Harriet, I think you know what everybody's thinking. You know, we need the manager. We need the cohesiveness. We need a manager to come in. I mean, and tell us all in a state in our own lane, hell, including myself. Somebody's going to come in here and take care of the job and do the job, and to get it for the best of our tax dollars. I think you've heard everybody's complaint, wants and gimmies and all the rest of it. You heard the residents what their wants and gimmies are, and I get it. I just hope, we can make this. We got 3 days to get it done. And I want Doc to come here. I voted for him along with everybody else. I just want everybody to be happy. And I get it, that it's going to be difficult. And a lot of times we have different concerns to voice what we want or what we need. Well, there's 7 of us, and not one of us can go to the city manager and say, hey, we want this, because we're not allowed to direct anybody. We can go there and act like it, but we can't. So this is the one time we get the voice that you hear us all, you hear the residents, and I just hope you make the best of it. I got faith in you. I'll pray for you. The other stuff I was going to bring up, I'll wait. I'll wait until Monday's meeting. Appreciate it.
So some of the concerns, obviously, the vehicle situation. We do have cars out there. I'm sorry that Glenn's going to lose his car, at least for the first year. But that car is really nice. I've been inside of it. I've never got to driven it, but it's a great car. I mean, I don't see why he won't keep it. I'm not trying to be also, insensitive to the insurance situation. I don't think it makes a lot of sense that we are paying the deductible as well as their insurance. If that's a moot point for him, then I'd like to, and I think Ms. Amoroso brought a good point, what are the insurance caps? Because then that would at least tell me what's out of pocket that the city's going to pay. So that's that. And then the 45-day thing, I'd be good with 20 days. Heck, 30 days, that's pushing it. And some type of cap. I mean, because it's true. I think we were in the newspaper a couple of years ago with somebody that retired and had like all this vacation time that we paid. Yeah, we need to start developing caps, period, as in general. The salary stuff, look, I get it. Would have I liked 190 or 180? 100%, but it is a give and take. And I'm okay with, letting that be a sticking point of we'll do the 215. Now, there is one last thing that I did not see, and maybe I am wearing glasses, so I could be blind. I did request that we do have citizen input on the evaluations. That shouldn't hurt no one. No one should feel like that's a moot point either, but they're the ones that essentially we're all paying his salary. So I'd like to see at least we just put something out there. People go in, they scan something, and then they just put in what they feel is right, not. And but I think residents should have a voice in that, and I think that'll start bridging that trust between the dais, the residents, and that department. That's all I have. Do you have any other questions for any of us? I don't. Commissioner Harriet? Okay. Meeting's adjourned.